gonna get right into it. Today I'm going to be grading the most controversial ships, kind of like what the title says. So, shipping wars have always been a thing, and fandom in general has gotten really mainstream. But nowadays it almost feels like that if you dare have a ship that's not canon, people start to treat it like it's damn near a moral failing on your part. I've especially noticed that when black women are shipped with a character of another race and it's not confirmed in any way, there's this phenomenon of people not being able to see it, like at all. Like it's impossible.
I don't understand! I don't understand!
Now, I'm of the personal belief that you can ship everything and anything you want, and it doesn't have to make sense. That's what makes fandom so fun. Like, it was never meant to be a thing for the showrunners or the authors to see what people were thinking and actually implement that. The point was to explore the relationship between the characters through different mediums like fanfic and fan art. And it does seem to me that when certain particular non-canon ships get so much attention or pushback against them, it's usually the result of somebody else's bias. Whether that's internalized homophobia or racism, take your pick. Today though, I'm here to investigate whether people are truly delusional when it comes to some of these largely debated ships, including black women. And I will have a bit of a point system to help me. Why? Because I want to make sure that I'm not the one being called delusional. Trust me, I know when I'm being delusional.
Are you like a crazy person?
I'm quite sure they will say so.
I want to make sure that everything is crystal clear and we have a way to measure. So this point system I wrote down is what I believe are major indicators within media, whether a man or a woman are going to get together. Now, I did base all these indicators off of heterosexual ships, mainly because these indicators were based off my own consumption of media, which has mostly been straight. So, and in addition, my argument plays on the fact that within most mediums of entertainment, when a man or woman have a large amount of screen time together, they are liable to get together. But it seems that this idea becomes strange to people when one of the parties is, let's say, unconventional. Then the question suddenly turns into, can men and women just not be friends? Well, for an industry where sex sells and with the goal of brainwashing women and girls to want marriage, no, they cannot just be friends.
Allegedly, this is all elect.
Now, with the indicators I've come up with, if the couple in question scores greater than or equal to 4 points, and the media has no acknowledgement of their intimate relationship, or worse, refers to it as a friendship, then I judge that we have been baited, cheated, fouled, all that shit, and the shippers know what they're talking about. So what would I say are the major indicators that a man and a woman are going to be romantically involved in media? Well, I am glad you asked. Going through my grading system. Number 1, solving the major plot in the movie or major plots of the show together. That is 1 point. Number 2, and this is films only, over 50% screen time together. Another point. 3, is there any flirtation, banter? 2 points. However, one caveat. If we're relying on banter alone instead of flirtation, the banter must have some sort of back and forth or some sort of familiarity / personalization to the jokes being made. Number 4, touching. I'm talking hugs, lingering touches, like a hand at the small of the back, like unnecessary touching.
Don't do it. Don't put your hand on the small of my back. Don't do it, yo. I like your movie.
You know what I'm talking about. Don't play with me. 2 points. Is there at least one fight or argument between the two? That's 1 point because, as I said before in another video, there is intimacy in discourse. Next up, romantic background music or just music about love in general, playing in the background in scenes that solely include the two pairings. So my rules are a little bit strict about this one. The scene has to only include the two characters in question, and instrumentals can only count if the title of the instrumental is romantic in nature. And if they do have this, then that's 1 point. Of course, if the couple kiss or if they're confirmed to be actively dating by the end of the show or movie, then that would be considered an acknowledgement of their relationship, and therefore it is official, aka it's canon. Now, I'll freely admit this grading system purposely ignores all outside relationships that the two characters may have by design. Because it's not lost on me that showrunners will have a character purposely couple up with another character if they see a ship that they maybe like to discourage or that's gaining too much traction, and they're just like, oh no, none of that. So I have to add just one more rule for TV series specifically. If one party of the pairing meets the criteria of 4 points or greater with another living character who has been there for more than one full season, then that's -1 point. Alright, I deem my scoring appropriate because flirting and touching is more solid evidence of chemistry and romance compared to the other factors. One may ask, oh, what about romantic background music? And my argument to that is probably like 75% of music that's created is about love or pertaining to love. So I understand it can be hard to find a music that fits a scene and it's not about love. They might have chosen the music for a different reason. And if one is actively looking for a song that's not romantic in nature, it's not impossible, of course, there's plenty, but the pickings are a little slimmer, and I acknowledge that. So I kept that at 1 point. That being said, let's get to our first couple and let's begin. So I've got to start with the show that inspired this video, The Bear, and the couple being Carmen and Sydney. So just for a quick synopsis, The Bear is a comedy drama following an award-winning chef named Carmen, who, following the death of his brother, returns to his hometown of Chicago to manage the family's sandwich shop. Simple, right? Upon my research, I could understand why people shipped Carmen and Sydney. First off, the kitchen itself is a very fast-paced, stressful environment. There's just a lot of tension and energy in there. I can feel it through the screen. And we've seen in both art and real life that this sort of environment is fertile for relationships, like in the military or in hospitals. These two characters develop a lot of respect for each other, so I can see where the appeal of them being together might come from. Very reasonable. But this isn't about what I think, so let's see how they measure up to the point system. Did they solve, or were they solving the plot of the show together? Yes, seeing as Sydney is a chef in Carmen's kitchen, it's in both their best interests that the restaurant succeeds, and the series does explore how her hand in managing the kitchen changes over time, but we're not going to get into all that. 1 point. Next, was there any flirtation, banter? I would not say so. So I can say for sure Carmen and Sydney never had outright flirtation. As for banter, there were really only a few scenes that I even considered.
Chef, that is a little too personal, I think.
Oh.
Sorry. I was just fucking with you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
So in this first scene, Sydney tells a singular joke, which by Merriam-Webster's definition may be considered banter, but it's not by the standard we're adhering to here. So there's no back and forth, and the joke is kind of out of nowhere. There's no callback within it or any familiarity about it between these two. Carmen didn't even clock that she wasn't being serious at first. And then there's other scenes where Carmen certainly uses sarcasm, but it doesn't turn into banter per se. So I didn't count them. Touching? So at first I was gonna say no, that they don't touch unnecessarily. But then I catch the quickest hug at the side of my screen. Yeah, no, this is not side of the screen activities. This should have been front and center. 2 points. At least one fight or argument? Absolutely. They've had many, and of course that's not unique to the two of them because this kitchen is intense. 1 point. Romantic background music during scenes. We're gonna talk about it. So there were many scenes between Carmen and Sydney where I didn't hear any music actually, like complete silence, which, you know, it's not abnormal for a show, but complete silence creates very neutral ground, unless they were arguing, of course. But there were a few scenes where I heard a little something in the background, which I'll go over in no particular order. So first we have during the notable table fixing scene that everybody hopped on this ship for. The music that plays in the back is called Come Back by Pearl Jam, which is ultimately a song about loss. However, the song is vague enough that it could be about a past lover or a dead loved one. So that's too debatable. I'm not counting it. And then during another scene between these two by the Lockers in early season 2, Transcendental Blues by Steve Earle's plays, which If you look at the lyrics, it's pretty depressing and not about romance at all. So couldn't count that one either. In season 2 again, when Carmen and Sydney make a new recipe at his place, Baby I'm a Big Star Now by Counting Crows plays in the background, which seems to be a song more about fame and addiction than anything, likely chosen for this scene for its positive upbeat tune because the two of them, they're doing something constructive together. Or is it because Carmen and Sydney are addicted to the craft of cooking, and with their new opening that comes with fame and notoriety? I'm gonna stop right there and not to get too carried away on that point, because this is not a lyric analysis video. This is not that sort of video. I don't want to digress, but it wasn't a love song, so I don't count that one either. Finally, in season 1 episode 5, when Sydney talks about her failed business, Impossible Germany by Wilco is played in the background, which is a song about a person wanting their lover to open up and communicate with them. For the sake of sticking to the grade system, I will give the point. It's a shaky point because most of their scenes was either silence or songs that were unromantic in nature. Now, does one party of the pairing meets the criteria of 4 points or greater with another living character who has been there for at least more than one full season? Yes, Carmen has an on and off relationship with Claire throughout the show, therefore they do lose a point. Now, I didn't watch this show while episodes were airing, and upon looking at some discourse online, there's some speculation that because of the popularity of this ship, the writers might have purposely distanced these two. I'm not sure how true that is, but I am putting it out there that that is a narrative that's gone around. And believe me, as a really big The 100 fan who was present when Jason Rottenberg was going head to head with the Ballark shippers, I get it. I do, I really do. Overall, these two got 4 points total, meaning they passed according to the scoreboards, and the fans may just be onto something. Next up, Trish and Han in Romeo Must Die. I believe Trish and Han was one of the first Asian man, black woman couples in a movie, second only to Whitney Houston's 1997 Cinderella adaptation. To give a quick summary, the film is an action-packed thriller starring Aaliyah and Jet Li. It follows a former cop as he searches for his brother's murderer, and he falls for the daughter of a businessman from another faction, the daughter being Trish, of course. I do take note that most summaries of this movie do acknowledge that there's a love story involved. You know, it's called Romeo Must Die, for Pete's sake. So let's get these two a grade. Solving the major plot of the movie together. Yep, and because this is a film, I'm measuring screen time, so it's at least half of their screen time with one another, and the answer is yes, so that's 1 point. Any flirtation or banter? Most definitely, 2 points.
What's your name?
You think I want you calling me?
I don't have a phone.
No, dead giveaway. Besides, you drive like shit.
Any touching? Yeah, they touch quite a bit, but it would be remiss of me not to mention a bit of the controversy surrounding the kiss scene that was cut due to pre-screen audiences reacting negatively to him. There was speculation that this negative reaction to the kiss was due to Trish and Han being an interracial couple, but according to Jet Li, in actuality, it was seen as out of place due to Han's father committing suicide just right prior to the kiss. Still, therefore, the audience reaction was more so to the scene being out of place or feeling ill-placed, which I believe, seeing as the movie did pretty well with audiences. So moving on, did they have at least one fight or argument? Not really. These two got along pretty well in the movie. Like in the beginning when he just showed up in her house, she was a bit thrown off, but that's not an argument. Romantic background music during scenes. Yes, a notable scene being when they're dancing. Aaliyah's song, Are You Feeling Me, plays in the background. So these two passed with flying colors, of course. They had a really cute love story. And the only thing that really landed them on this list was the negative reaction to that kiss scene that was ultimately cut. But happy to report that all went well on this front. A kiss would have been nice though. Like adding an epilogue and placing it there was also an option, just saying. Up next, Rick Grimes and Michonne. The Walking Dead. For the few that have no idea what The Walking Dead is, it is a drama that takes place after a zombie apocalypse decimates the American population. It explores the survivors, their relationships, and their relationships with other groups as well. The series became wildly popular and ran for 11 seasons. Rick Grimes is the main character, and Michonne joins in season 3. So by now, it has been long established that Rick and Michonne are a loving couple. They love each other dearly. So instead, I will be grading Andrew Lincoln and Denying Your Era. I'm kidding, of course. But let's see how the scenes establishing Rick and Michonne's relationship hold up. Because a lot of fans were surprised when this happened, and the showrunner came out and made a statement about it. And even, I'll admit, I was actively watching the Walking Dead episodes when this scene happened in season 6. And the only reason I might have had an inkling that Rick and Michonne were going to be a thing is because of certain comments Andrew Lincoln made in pre-promotional interviews.
That's what I want it to be. I want Michonne and Rick to get together.
Wow. You hear this? You hear this?
And of course, I was very aware of the Michonne shippers standing 10 toes down. I was pleasantly surprised when it did happen because it certainly wasn't foretold by the comic. And a lot of fans, they didn't really get it, but we're gonna get into it. Did they solve, or were they solving the major plot of the show together? Yes, Michonne was very much a big part of Rick's group. Any flirtation or banter? Yes, in a very subtle way, likely due to the nature of the stressful environment that is the apocalypse.
Do you have any toothpaste left?
No, because someone's been borrowing it every day for 2 weeks.
Is this instead of the toothpaste?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do have a crate of toothpaste for you. It's currently at the bottom of a lake.
Oh, so you had a day.
Any touching? None that counts.
Hey, these are all people. You tell us what happened now.
Don't you ever touch me again.
And that's understandable. Again, this is the apocalypse. Stressful environment. They low-key met each other at their worst. So, at least one fight or argument? Most definitely. They had their disagreements and they had a rough start, so this was a given. Were there any romantic background music during scenes together? Not really. The Walking Dead primarily plays their own instrumental soundtracks in the background of scenes, or the scenes are done in silence. There is no exception for these two, as most of their scenes are done in silence. There was one scene, however, in season 3, where instrumental plays in the background. It's the scene where Michonne is thanking Rick for taking her into the group. I couldn't pinpoint exactly which instrumental was being used, but it wasn't even necessary, given that all the instrumentals played during that episode have titles that didn't indicate the piece was romantic in nature at all. Does one party of the pairing meets the criteria of 4 points or greater with another living character who has been there for more than one full season? No. Michonne had a boyfriend who was long gone before she even met their group. Rick's wife Lori died prior to him even meeting Michonne, and Jesse doesn't count. Besides being dead, the average Walking Dead season was 16 episodes, and she was only present for 11. Be for real. That leaves them with 4 points total, at least according to the scenes that were all leading up to the establishment of their relationship. So they passed by the skin of their teeth, but they did pass. So Michonne shippers, you knew what you were doing. Up next, Mika and Raizo, Ninja Assassin, 2009. Quick summary. Ninja Assassin is an action thriller following Raizo, who is a former member of a clan of assassins known as the Ozunu. With the help of Mika, he works to bring them down. That's a very, very brief synopsis of the story. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the point system. We're going to go through it together and we're going to take it from there. So, solving the major plot of the movie. Yes, 1 point. Over 50% screen time together. Debatable. So, if including scenes from Raizo's past, then it could be argued that 50% of Raizo's screen time was not with Mika. If only looking at present day Raizo's scenes. Am I saying that right? Raizo? Raizo, whatever, I'm going with Raizo. We're only including scenes with present day Raizo, then it could be argued that half of the scenes were with her. So they don't get the point. I don't like vagueness or debatability. They don't get the point. Any flirtation or banter? Yes.
You order size 36?
What? No, size 34.
These jeans are a little tight.
You say 34.
2 points. Touching? I wouldn't say so. At least none that was unnecessarily intimate, which is primarily what I'm referring to in this category. At least one fight, debatable. So there was a bit of a betrayal on Mika's part when she did turn Raizo over to the ninja assassins, which he wasn't even conscious to be able to argue over, but her intent was to help him, and he forgave her like immediately as soon as he saw her again. So not much of an argument. Romantic music during background scenes, no. There's not one song on that movie's original soundtrack list that's romantic in nature. It's an action movie, so this couple only really has 3 points for sure. Therefore, by this standard, someone could say, hey, they formed a very strong platonic friendship throughout the movie, and nothing more should have happened or was meant to happen. And to which I would say, agreed. On the other hand, someone could have said, oh, they should have been together, and the rules of fandom deemed that I can't deny them of that. So when researching Asian men and black women couples in media, emphasis on couples, this one pops up pretty often, even though whether or not they were an actual couple is debatable. And I don't blame them, because usually in a movie like this, the male and female lead would be a thing, especially in 2009. And it's not lost on me that back in 2009, and even today to an extent, there were truly only a handful of Asian men and black woman couples on TV. Romeo Must Die was a pioneer in this aspect. I'm not surprised if people saw the closest thing to it and said, finally, some good representation. Moving on to Bonnie and Damon, The Vampire Diaries. This is a big one. So, for those who do not know, The Vampire Diaries was a supernatural teen drama following Elena Gilbert, who falls in love with a 172-year-old vampire named Stefan Salvatore, at least at first. Throughout the series, it follows Elena and her group of friends as they navigate different supernatural threats and manage their relationships with them as well. Now, Damon Salvatore is Stefan's older brother. He initially starts off as antagonistic towards some of the main group, and later on, he goes back and forth. He has his moments. Bonnie, however, is Elena's best friend, who in the series finds out that she is a powerful witch. Now, I will start this one off by saying the mistreatment of the character Bonnie and her actress Kat Graham by writers and producers of The Vampire Diaries is very well documented and has been thoroughly discussed over the years.
Really cool, and then we have a Teen Choice nom, so it's really nice that people are appreciating the work that Ian and I do together, and are seeing that and recognizing that. It really means a lot.
Is that something that you would ever consider doing?
It's so, their friendship on the show is so powerful.
It's just so fun. I don't know, I'm feeling like Damon is still madly in love with Elena. Bonnie's gonna maybe have her own love interest this year, and
it's not gonna be Damon, so.
Therefore, we now know that Bonnie was purposely kept from engaging in certain potential relationships throughout the show, even in spite of the request by certain actors to maybe have that written in. Bonnie and Damon specifically were such a huge hit amongst the fans, so much so that I believe they were nominated for an award for their on-screen chemistry. So let's see how they fare against the point system. Did they work together to solve the major plot of the show? That's 1 point. Any flirtation or banter, they had their moments, but in the same vein, this is Vampire Diaries. Didn't everybody have their moments?
Every day I tell you I hate that.
And every day I do it anyway.
You're wearing terrible shoes for trailing someone, your eyes suck, and you're slow.
Oh, I'm slow. You just spent the last few weeks in Europe with a guy pretending to be drunk and you didn't even notice.
True.
2 points. Is there touching? Yes, a lot of touching actually. You can try and argue the intention. Oh, they were just dancing. Oh, they were just so happy to see each other because they got trapped in the whole dimension for a while and it's been a minute. Nope, these count. 2 points. At least one fight or argument? Yes, 1 point. Any romantic background music during scenes? They actually have quite a few, which is saying something given that I'm a little bit strict about this rule.
Bonnie Bennett, Destroyer of Dreams.
So I take it things didn't go well with Rick.
1 point. Does one party of the pairing meet the criteria of 4 points or more with another living character who has been there for more than one full season? The short answer is yes. Even by the end of the show, Damon and Elena are a couple, and they've been a couple throughout the series. So minus 1 point. So they certainly pass. After looking more into the show, I understand why Bonnie and Damon are such a topic of conversation. The Vampire Diaries is truly one of those shows where romances are ridiculously prevalent. And sometimes it seems like they just throwing folks together. It reminds me of one of those friend groups where everybody has slept with each other at least once. So I actually understand why Damon shippers might have felt some frustration with getting the runaround in regard to this. It's to the point that someone could reasonably look at Bonnie's and Damon's personalities and say, actually, I don't think these two characters would mesh well in a relationship. But characters where that same logic would have applied have gotten together in the show. So that reasoning doesn't excuse how much it was rallied against in interviews. So on top of Bonnie's lovers dying one after one, and there being a large consensus present about Damon's and Bonnie's chemistry, it looks more so like the writers didn't want Bonnie happy in a stable relationship with a staple character of the series. Moving on to our last couple in our video today. Ichabod and Abbie. Sleepy Hollow. In 1781, Ichabod Crane beheads a horseman before succumbing to his own wounds that he acquired in battle. He awakens in 2013 Sleepy Hollow. With the help of Lieutenant Abigail Mills, also known as Abbie, he discovers he is tasked with stopping the horseman, now known as Death, from reuniting with his severed head and unleashing the end of days. So I knew next to nothing about Sleepy Hollow prior to this video. Ichabod's and Abbie's relationship is only covered through the first 3 seasons, so that will be the focus area. Upon further research, I found that Abbie's actress wanted to depart from the show due to some unfair treatment towards her in comparison to her co-star. Sounds pretty familiar given the previous couple we just went over. And one observation I had while watching some of the episodes was that Ichabod and Abbie have a lot of one-on-one screens together. Like, a lot. Yes, they are the protagonist and the deuteragonist, but if you compare them to, let's say, Carmen and Sydney, who are also the protagonist and deuteragonist of their respective shows, Ichabod and Abbie have way more one-on-one scenes together. So I'm not surprised the show ended after season 4, the season without Abbie, who was so central to the story. But alas, let's see how they do on paper. So, did they solve, or were they solving the major plot of the show together? Yes, absolutely. They were basically partners in crime. Was there any flirtation or banter? There was some, a few times. It was a little hard for me to tease out, or I would miss it so easily because Abbie is so nonchalant. And Ichabod, he speaks in a roundabout way at times and I miss it. It's okay. But yes, they do have some banter.
And theoretically, you could rekindle the relationship.
I will literally pay you to stop talking.
I would happily accept, as I'm in need of currency.
I got you.
A surprise party. And why must your era celebrate terror with dessert?
I'm sorry, I couldn't find a cupcake big enough for 251 candles.
Well, what, do we just stare at it?
You blow it out. Make a wish.
Oh, a wish.
Another modern tradition.
And here I thought science had won over superstition in modern America.
2 points. Any unnecessary or flirtatious touching? Yep, 2 points. At least one fight or argument? Yes, they had many. 1 point. Was there any romantic music during background scenes? Not really. There was only one scene I might have considered, but because another character walked in and the music continued on as usual, I did not count it. Does one party of the pairing meets the criteria of 4 points or greater with another living character who has been there for more than 1 full season? The answer is no. There were certainly no other characters in that show that was closer than Abbie and Ichabod. Neither one of these characters' previous past lovers were truly present by the end of season 3. Betsy herself, who is Ichabod's past flame, wasn't in the show for more than 1 full season, so I couldn't really count her. That leaves these two with a good 6 points, in which again, I'm not surprised given how centered the show was on the two of them. The fans wanting to see these two together was just natural. And that is the last couple for today. Feel free to let me know your opinions on these couples and how I graded them. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. I do cross post on Odyssey if you would rather watch me there. And hopefully I will see you